Okay, Jill, I wanted to show you a few things about how I work on files, and if you're interested, I'd be happy for you to even add to what you did last time on the next page, which is starting to put highlights and shadows on the figures. Here's the page you sent me, and I'd like one of the things I really like about it. I liked you adding the glass and the opening up the background and the streaks. All that was good, and all this was defined. All the tools were defined really well, and you know, your little subtle lightings on the fallen light fixture and everything like that. And I always considered this a starting point, so I'm going to show you. Here is what I turned it into, and I'm hoping I can kind of teach you my style, that you can start to kind of do things the way I would. One thing you'll notice is I tend to not like soft shadows. That's just a stylistic choice of mine. I like the hard-edged shadows, like you can see the green highlight here on the shirt, and then on the skin tone even, and the hard-edged shadows on the floor. I think the soft one on the wall works. It's a nice contrast. And then I just added some detail behind the windows and a darker. I didn't explain to you that this is actually more closer to a night scene. It's like early evening, and so I darkened that. And let's see, I added some brush effects here for highlighting on the plants. But as far as the figures go, if you want to try to tackle that, notice how I've got highlights and shadows, and I actually have a pretty quick way to do those. I'm sending you this file, by the way, but if you'll look in this file that I will send you, there's a layer called highlights, and that layer, the layer style is overlay, and in this case I reduced the opacity to 43%. But one thing you can do with that, for instance, watch this. I'm going to go to the figure layer, select the background, and then Shift-Command-I to select the inverse. So now I have the figure selected. I go up to my highlights layer, the overlay, and I can paint with white and black. For instance, if I get the paintbrush, and I also, well, I'm going to try painting with normal first, but like I'm painting with black, but it's giving me like a shadow of the same color, a same color shadow, because the layers is overlay. Now sometimes you'll want to experiment. You may even want your brush to be like screen or or lighten or something. But if I've got the layer on overlay, I can pretty much use the brush on normal. But anyway, I can paint with black, I can paint with white, and I missed that little spot right there, so it's bleeding over. But and it stays completely in the figure, like there. If I wanted to do that, and it's not like I don't ever like a soft highlight. I mean, that's soft right there. I just, for the majority, I like them to be hard edged, and then I like to come in with a soft edge for contrast. Like if you zoom in here, those are hard edged, and then there's this nice soft one. I really like them when they're combined, a soft and a hard together. Let me show you a page that I just had to do this by myself because I had so much illustration still to do that I didn't draw out, that I was doing digitally on the iPad and so forth. So there are going to be some pages that I just have to go ahead and do, like those plant forms. And I had a lot to do with these buildings, and I wanted certain effects on the wires there, the vines there, and then of course I wanted some blur effects here. Okay, here's an example of something stylistically that I like. I like a combination of a hard edge with a soft edge, kind of like that, like here, this brown that's hard, and then soft, and then here's a soft edge with a hard edge. So I'm not saying that I never use it. Like here again, hard edge, hard, and then a soft. Hard, mostly hard, a little bit of soft. So I tend to start with them all hard and then go in and soften where I want to. Coloring effects can be fun. Like this was a very busy page, just a whole lot going on. I just had to tone it down a little bit. So on this panel 3, I had a whole hue saturation layer just for that panel, because I like it like this by itself. You know, if there was nothing but this panel, I'd like it like that. But in the context of this whole page, it was just too much going on. It was too much. So I toned it down with a hue saturation layer so that the whole page wouldn't be overwhelming. Here I got to pretend that light was coming through the leaves and casting shadows on their faces, and that was fun. Here's kind of an unrealistic blue, purple background for contrast's sake, you know, so I'm not opposed to things that are a little bit abstract. Okay, so anyway, sometimes I'll just experiment with something like a brush edge. Like this is with a certain brush. If I don't want a hard edge and I don't want it to be soft either, getting a little texture there. And it's, you know, it all depends. And another thing as far as color goes, I probably didn't even do it as well as I should have, but I didn't want every vine and every panel to be exactly the same color. So I had a certain kind of pure intense green here and here, but then on this one I changed it to less intense, more of a brown, just so it would be different. And then here I was able to play with the lighting effects. I like that spark that you started with the thing coming down, and so there's this bright light hitting everybody, which is fun, and that allowed me to make these vines have, you know, more of an artificial lighting and color on them. And as far as the flame goes, this was basically 2 layers. I had that red layer, and then I just used the pen tool and made another layer of solid yellow on top of it. And then I used a watercolor brush to mix some of it, and then I also used the liquify filter to get some of this. So that's how I did some of that. So that's how that happened. So I think what's going to happen is I won't get to a point where I give you every single page, because there's just going to be pages like this that I have to do. But I'll probably give you the occasional page where you can fill in stuff for me. Here's the page I need you to do. What you did was page 2. I went ahead and did page 4. Here's page 3. This is the one I'd like you to try. I did a lot on it. I wanted the ship to be to have a certain look, and I'm pretty happy with the way the ship looks, and that's what I wanted it to look like. But pretty much anything else you can play with and see what you can do. This building right here is the same as that building there. So if you need a guide for color, and this is the same scene from above, like that's the same ship, that's the door they went, there's the canopy that they fly out of. So, you know, you're in that same location there. So if you need to use guidance from this panel as far as coloring this, go ahead. I just wanted some kind of an ominous sky, which is why I did this kind of watermelon color sky. It's just supposed to look threatening and weird, and so it's early evening. The interior of their ship, I don't really want to be beige. It just kind of ended up that way. I was giving it a hue saturation effect. You know, a blue and a white and a gray interior might be better. This can be a rack of lamps down the center if you want, of lighting. You can treat the surface of the floor with shadows if you like. Now this here, she's using a fire extinguisher, and so I've got the basic gas, you know, here. It doesn't have to be filling the entire background. If you want to make cloud edges and cut back some of it, you can. Of course, you'll be left with a background, a space of a background where you'll need to put something like there's nothing back there. So, okay, so I'm going to, if you're interested, if you would like to play with this, I'm going to let you play with it. I'm going to provide you all four of these, well, all three of these files, so you can kind of look at them and play with them. Plus, I'm going to give you a PDF file of the whole 7-page story. So if you need to read it, you know, figure out what the heck's going on, what's coming up, you can. So anyway, I hope you're still interested in working with this. If it's too much trouble, if it's too much time, I would totally understand. You can let me know that if you need to. So, all right, talk to me if you have any questions. Thank you.